Some wars aren't fought with weapons. They're fought with smiles, casseroles, and carefully chosen words that cut deeper than any knife. When I married David, I knew I wasn't just marrying a man. I was marrying into a legacy guarded by a woman who believed she owned every inch of it. Claudia, my mother-in-law, the kind of woman who enters a room and makes you feel like you've done something wrong just by breathing. She didn't yell. She didn't insult. She didn't need to. Her judgments came in the form of soft sighs, passive smiles, and phrases like, "Some women just aren't naturally maternal." At our wedding, she wore white, said it was a beige blush. The label literally said ivory. David didn't say a word. That was my first warning. When I got pregnant, I thought it might bring us closer. Maybe she'd drop the act. Maybe we could finally connect as women, as mothers. I was wrong. From the moment she found out, it was like a switch flipped. She started calling the baby her boy, telling friends she was expecting, picking out names without asking. She even tried to change the baby shower guest list to her friends. It got worse after I gave birth. She showed up at the hospital uninvited, forced her way into the delivery room, claiming David wanted her there for emotional support. She told the nurses I was too groggy to hold my own son. That night, while I was half asleep, I woke up to find her holding him, whispering that she'd take care of him if I couldn't. She didn't want to be a grandmother. She wanted to be the mother. And I was just the vessel. But I'm not someone you push aside, not when it comes to my child. She thought she could manipulate me, gaslight me, turn my own husband against me. What she didn't know is that I don't lose, not quietly, not legally, not ever. She tried to take my baby, so I took the one thing she valued more than anything else, her control, her reputation, her legacy. David and I met in the least romantic way possible, at a mutual friend's engagement party. I spilled red wine on his jacket. He smiled, said it gave it character, and offered to drive me home because it was raining and Uber was surging. That drive turned into a date. That date turned into 1,000 more. David wasn't perfect, but he was solid, thoughtful. He had a calming presence, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. I came from a loud, messy, loving family. He came from, well, Claudia. She was polite, elegant, and incredibly well-connected, the kind of woman who hosted charity luncheons and knew the difference between caviar grades. To outsiders, she was refined. To insiders, she was iron in pearls. She smiled through her disapproval. I could feel it from the moment she shook my hand. Her eyes scanned me like I was a resume she hadn't approved. The first comment came at brunch, months into dating. "So, what do your parents do again?" "Oh, blue collar. That's sweet." Another time, she offered to tweak my wardrobe before a company dinner with David's firm. Said something about upgrading to neutrals that don't distract. David would laugh it off. "She just wants the best for me," he'd say. I told myself I could handle her. I was marrying David, not her. I was wrong about that, too. We got engaged after 2 years. David proposed at sunset on a lake, just us and the sound of water lapping at the dock. It was perfect, until we started planning the wedding. Claudia took control of everything, booked a venue before we'd even made a guest list, hired a preferred designer without asking me, insisted I walk down the aisle to classical music because pop songs age poorly. She brought a binder with color schemes, font samples, and menu options already chosen. Every time I pushed back, she'd smile and say, "Of course, dear, but let's just consider what's more elegant." The final straw? The dress. I had picked mine, Soft A-line, lace detailing, simple and modern. Claudia scheduled a surprise fitting at her designer's showroom. I walked in and saw a gown that looked like something from a 90s royal wedding. Heavy, beaded, ivory, not white. Ivory, she stressed. I told her no. She pouted like a scolded child and said, this is the dress I always imagined for my daughter. I reminded her, I'm not her daughter. David stayed neutral, or tried to. He'd say things like, it's just one day, or she's just excited. I asked him, whose day is it? Yours, mine, or hers? He didn't have an answer. I thought maybe once the wedding was over it would calm down, that maybe being a grandmother would soften her. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, until she gave me none. A week after the honeymoon, she dropped by unannounced with a moving box. Inside it, silverware, towels, curtains. For the guest bedroom, she said. Except the guest room wasn't hers. She called my cooking experimental. She rearranged my pantry while I was out. She gifted David a framed portrait of the two of them with the quote, "A man's first love is his mother." He thought it was funny. I thought it was a message. Then came the if you ever need help raising a child speeches, casual remarks at family dinners. I raised David with no help, didn't even hire a nanny. She'd look at me while she said it, her smile tight as wire. One night I told David, she's crossing boundaries. He looked uncomfortable, said, she's just trying to be involved. I asked him, involved in what? Our lives or controlling them? He didn't answer that either. I always wanted to be a mother, not in the soft, pastel-colored way people post on Instagram. I wanted to raise someone with fire, with empathy, with the strength to speak, even when it shakes. So when the test turned positive, I was overwhelmed, scared, thrilled, humbled. David was over the moon. He held me like we'd just won the lottery. For the first few weeks, I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd get a fresh start. Then Claudia found out. She didn't say congratulations. She said, I knew it. Your face looked puffy last weekend. She showed up the next day with a stack of baby name books and an antique bassinet, her bassinet from when David was born. He slept in this. So will your baby, she declared. She didn't ask. At first, I tried to smile through it. I told myself she's just excited. She's being helpful. But every gift came with a rule. Every suggestion was a command dressed as advice. She began referring to the baby as my boy. Not your son, my boy. She'd called David when I wasn't around to discuss parenting decisions, told him I shouldn't eat spicy food, that prenatal yoga was new age nonsense, that doulas were just failed nurses. She made a spreadsheet of acceptable baby names. There was only one tab, traditional and respectable. I told her we were naming our son Noah. She frowned and said, biblical is fine, but a little overused, don't you think? When labor came, it was fast. Water broke at 3 a.m. David rushed me to the hospital, texting family on the way. That's when the real line was crossed. By the time we got to the delivery room, Claudia was already there. She'd apparently driven behind us. She cornered a nurse and tried to get access to the birthing suite, saying her son would need emotional support. She wasn't allowed in at first. But when David left to get coffee, she slipped in while the nurse was checking monitors. I was mid-contraction when she stood beside me and whispered, just breathe. Women have done this alone for centuries. You'll manage. I told her to leave. She looked offended, but she smiled and walked out, slowly, like she was doing me a favor. After Noah was born, I was exhausted, raw, barely conscious. I fell asleep with him in my arms. When I woke up, He was gone. For a full 30 seconds, I thought someone had taken him. My chest collapsed. I screamed. Then I saw her, Claudia, in the corner of the room, cradling Noah, humming some lullaby I didn't recognize. She smiled like she'd just been named Queen of England. He was fussing, she said. I didn't want to wake you. I nearly vomited. The nurse came in and asked how she got in. Apparently, she told staff she was the child's guardian. When we got home, things didn't improve. Claudia showed up daily, uninvited, sometimes with food, sometimes with advice. Once, she brought a nanny, saying, "I thought she could help. You seem a little overwhelmed." I asked David to set a boundary. He hesitated, said she was just being supportive. Then the bruises showed up. One afternoon, I noticed a small bruise on Noah's arm. Not large, could have been nothing, but my gut screamed. I asked the nanny. She hadn't touched him. I asked Claudia. She brushed it off. Babies bruise all the time, you're being paranoid. That night, I installed a nanny cam in the living room. I didn't tell David. 3 days later, I watched the footage. Claudia was holding Noah a little too tightly, shushing him harshly, rocking him with a sharp jerk whenever he cried. On one clip, she actually said, "Stop it. No one likes a difficult baby." I saved every second, labeled the files, sent copies to a secure cloud drive. Then I called my therapist and made an emergency appointment. I needed a professional to document that I was stable, grounded, fit. Because something told me she was about to make a move. And I needed to be ready to burn her entire illusion to the ground. There's something terrifying about watching someone smile while they destroy you. Claudia was all sweetness on the surface. She made casseroles. She smiled in family photos. She asked about my sleep while texting David that I was showing signs of mental instability. I knew she was building a case, not a legal one, not yet, but a narrative. She planted seeds. I was tired, emotional, easily rattled. I snapped at her in front of David once, and he said, "She's just trying to help." She knew exactly what she was doing, and she underestimated how much I could take before I fought back. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I documented. Every time she came over uninvited, I logged it. Every passive-aggressive comment, every unapproved photo of my baby she posted to Facebook with captions like, "My sweet boy." I took screenshots. I had video, I had a journal, and I had a plan. I booked sessions with a licensed therapist. I told her everything, not just about Claudia, but how I felt like I was slowly unraveling while pretending to be fine. I asked her to document it all. I needed to be ahead of what I suspected was coming. Because I knew Claudia would escalate. She'd gone too far to back down now. It was a Thursday, quiet. Noah had just gone down for a nap. I was folding laundry when I heard the knock. 2 strangers, a woman and a man, crisp polos, lanyards. They introduced themselves as Child Protective Services. Someone had made a formal report, alleging emotional instability, unsafe living conditions, claims that I had screamed at my baby, locked myself in a bathroom, and left the child unattended while I slept for hours. They wouldn't tell me who filed it, but I didn't need them to. I invited them in, calm, polite. I gave them Noah's birth certificate, medical records, the name of his pediatrician, and the number for my therapist. Then I brought out the nanny cam footage. I showed them Claudia's behavior, her roughness, the way she dismissed his crying, the way she inserted herself like a third parent. I gave them timestamps, transcripts, and access to the therapist's written statement, clearly stating that I was not only stable, but actively seeking tools to manage stress, motherhood, and boundary violations. They left quietly, professional. They thanked me. They told me I'd hear back within a week. I heard back the next morning. Case closed, no follow-up. They said I had handled it better than 99% of people. That night, I filed for a protective order, not against David, against Claudia. I used the footage, the CPS report, and my therapist's documentation. My lawyer said it wasn't just smart, it was necessary. Claudia was served 3 days later. She tried to call. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail sobbing, saying, "You don't understand what you're doing. I love that baby like he's mine." Exactly. David came home from work that night looking like he hadn't slept. I told him flatly what had happened. CPS, the report, the nanny cam, the order. He didn't deny it anymore. He just sat down and said, "She told me you were slipping." I said, "She's been playing you since the wedding, since the pregnancy. You just didn't want to see it." He cried. For the first time in our entire marriage, David cried. I didn't yell. I didn't comfort him. I told him, "I love you, but I will not allow anyone, including you, to put our son at risk." Then I told him to leave. He packed a bag, said he needed time. I said, "Take as long as you want. Just know this. If you defend her again, you don't come back." And for the first time, he didn't defend her. Some people think revenge is about yelling, breaking things, making dramatic scenes. Not me. I prefer paperwork, patience, and watching someone choke on the image they worked so hard to protect. Claudia didn't just care about her son. She cared about her reputation, her name, her legacy. She was the chair of the Remington Women's Foundation, an elite nonprofit that raised money for family preservation and traditional parenting values. I always thought it was ironic. She'd built an empire of influence around family while trying to dismantle mine from the inside. After the CPS incident, word spread, quietly at first. Parents talk, lawyers talk, donors talk. One of the foundation board members was a mother I'd met in a postpartum support group, someone who knew what Claudia had tried to do. I didn't ask her for help. I didn't have to. A week later, Claudia was quietly asked to step down due to health concerns. Her name disappeared from the website. So did the gala fundraiser she had curated for 6 months. She reached out to me, again, through her lawyer, offered an apology in exchange for a character statement, said she wanted to heal the family. I sent back one sentence. "The family you tried to take from me is healing just fine without you." David came back a month later, not to move in, to co-parent, respectfully. He'd been in therapy. He had cut off contact with his mother after she staged an ambush in the lobby of his office building, crying and screaming about losing her grandson. He apologized, not just for what she did, but for what he didn't do, for not listening, for letting her run our lives while he watched from the sidelines. I forgave him, but we weren't the same, and that's okay. Sometimes you build a life with someone, just to realize you're better at building alone. I took time off work, started a parenting blog, anonymously at first, shared my story, got messages from hundreds of women dealing with narcissistic in-laws, controlling grandparents, spouses too afraid to draw boundaries. Eventually, I launched a nonprofit, the Second Mother Project, focused on legal education for new parents, especially mothers being threatened with guardianship challenges or emotional manipulation from family. I gave interviews, spoke at panels, became the kind of mother Claudia could never silence. one who builds, not controls. And while she faded from the social circuit, I built a circle of women sharper than diamonds. I heard through mutual friends that Claudia tried to restart her foundation under a new name. But the damage was done. Donors backed out. Lawyers stayed away. She'd spent her life cultivating image over intimacy. When the image cracked, there was nothing underneath. Not even her son. A few months ago, she sent a final letter. Handwritten, it said, "I never meant to take him from you. I just didn't think you were strong enough." I never responded. She got her answer when I published my book, Boundaries. People ask me if I regret anything, if I wish I'd been kinder, if I ever feel sorry for her. I don't. I set boundaries. She broke them. I protected my son. She tried to own him. She wanted a legacy, something eternal, respected, admired. She got silence, and I got my son, my peace, and a life that doesn't orbit someone else's control. Revenge wasn't the point. Protection was. The rest was just justice with good timing. She tried to take my baby, so I took her story and rewrote it in my name,